Hi everyone, James Mansfield here bringing you yet another video. Oh my god, you guys. So now we've talked about Halloween, Black Christmas, Friday the 13th, Gremlins. Now it's time to talk about another horror classic and do our makeup while we do so. Today on the docket we have Nightmare on Elm Street. Ooh, yes, supernatural-esque kind of horror. I'm excited. This one is an absolute classic and it is bananas, all right? Like this one is really off the wall. So let me just glue my eyebrows down and we can get started. Also, a little housekeeping. If you want to know what products I'm using, I have them listed down below. And if you want to save a little money at Kimchi Chic Beauty, use my code JamesMansfield for 15% off your purchase. Now, I'm gonna get my eyebrows blocked and I'll be right back. Welcome back. All right, let's get started. So, A Nightmare on Elm Street. Now, this is an absolute horror classic. Now, this film has a rather interesting production because it was almost a film that did not happen. Wes Craven is our director, and we all know Wes Craven is responsible for the most demented, scary, and like just generally up horror films in the past, of our generation. Like, he's one of the great godfathers of horror. But for some reason, when he pitched this idea after already having a couple hits under his belt, no one in Hollywood was biting at it. Like, it took years to get this film off the ground. And he could not fathom as to why. Because the idea, when you hear it and when you watch it, you're like, this is a phenomenal idea. Like, how did this get passed on so much? But essentially, what inspired him to do this was he had been clipping stories he saw in the LA Times about a very bizarre, like, string of deaths that happened, like, throughout the years, where people were dying in their sleep. And it was people who had, like, basically survived refugee camps and had, like, trauma that they could not shake. Like, it was so bad that, like, they were dying in their sleep from it. Like, the stress and everything from, like, just trauma and post-traumatic stress of it all. One story in particular was of a certain young man who basically dropped dead in his bed because he was not sleeping. And his parents later found out that, like, he was supposed to be taking sleep medication, but wasn't taking it. He was hiding all of it. And had a coffee pot hidden in his closet. And he was secretly drinking coffee so he would stay up and not sleep. So he was depriving himself of sleep for weeks. They found him screaming in hysterics from horrible nightmares he was having, and he had dropped dead. This idea took hold of Wes Craven's mind, and he just started writing A Nightmare on Elm Street. Now, the great villain of A Nightmare on Elm Street is, of course, Freddy Krueger, the icon that is Freddy Krueger, portrayed by Robert Englund, who was not a big actor at that time. I feel like the biggest thing he had done was a mini-series called V, which is a like sci-fi series, the one with the aliens with the green heads, like they wear human skins and everything. And that was kind of the only place we'd ever really seen him until he landed the role of Freddy. Freddy Krueger was inspired by an old drunk that Wes Craven had seen as a child. He recalls a creepy old drunk walking down the street in the middle of the night when he was a child and peeking out the window to look at him, and the man made eye contact with him. And his eyes followed him the entire walk until he eventually walked around the building to the entrance of their home. Young Wes Craven ran and told his family and all that. His brother came down with the baseball bat. When they came back, the old man was gone. But this idea of like a creepy old man that just liked the idea of scaring a kid was enough for him to like lock that away as a memory, as future inspiration for a horror character. And Freddy Krueger is one of those long, enduring horror characters. Like, he's been in several movies and crossovers, television shows, anthology series, you name it. Like, Freddy Krueger is a pop culture icon. More so than Jason or Michael Myers, because one thing that set Freddy Krueger aside from the others is that Freddy Krueger has personality. Like, the character is there, especially in the later movies. Like, Robert Englund really just goes hard or goes home when it comes to portraying Freddy. Like, he's funny, he's a clown, and he became more comical as the movies progressed. First movie, Freddy is very serious. Like, there's some moments of camp that slip in, but even more so, it's very well done and very well paced to where it doesn't get distracting. Our leading lady is, of course, Heather Langenkamp, who beat out a lot of actresses to get this role of Nancy Thompson, our final girl. And Nancy Thompson is one hell of a final girl. As far as final girls go, she's probably one of the best ones. Like Sydney, Laurie Strode, Nancy. They're like, that's the team you want. But she beat out a lot of actresses to get this. Like, namely, like Jennifer Grey from Dirty Dancing. Could you imagine Jennifer Grey as Nancy in this? That probably would have been phenom. Like, not even gonna lie, like, that's probably that's a pretty close second to Heather Langenkamp. Also, Courtney Cox auditioned for this and did not get it. She beat Demi Moore for this part, and Tracy Gold from Growing Pains. Like, that is one hell of a competition to beat out. Like, over 200 actresses auditioned for this, and Heather Langenkamp got it. That's impressive. And she is amazing in this. Like I said, like she is top tier final girl stats. Like you really like her in this. Like she's very, very good. But like I said before, this movie had a really difficult time getting off the ground because just no studios believed in it. They thought it was absurd that like someone would ever be scared of a movie where people are attacked in their dreams. It's just unfathomable that anyone would be scared by that. And Wes Craven, being the forward-thinking person that he was, just said like, just stuck to his guns and eventually landed upon Bob Shaye from New Line Entertainment. And he was the only one that liked this idea and believed in it. Now, Bob Shaye I adore, and I adore New Line Cinema because New Line Cinema was responsible for basically being the ones that gave a big push to a lot of indie directors and indie filmmakers that wouldn't have got pushes otherwise. Like, New Line Cinemas is responsible for all of John Waters' releases. They took risk and lost money, but believed in him because he got enough of a following where he became a celebrity unto himself and his movies became infamous, and it gave New Line an edge of this like movie company that was doing a lot of different things. Nightmare on Elm Street begins. We are in the dark. It's like a dark tunnel, and you can see a girl running down in her nightgown, like is soaking wet, so gross and damp, played by Amanda Weiss, who I always know from My Mother's Secret Life, the Lifetime movie, where she's the young girl whose mother is a hooker. Like Lonnie Anderson plays it, and she's like goes to the PTA meetings and everything. And, oh, it is wild. Definitely check that one out. But I digress. Yeah, Amanda Weiss is in this. She's running down a corridor and she's being chased by something. She looks back and Stevie Nicks is there. No, I'm kidding. It's a goat. A goat walks by. It's random. I don't get it, but there it is. She runs down and she finds herself running through her own home. And she finds herself cornered and she wakes up in a screaming fit. Her mother walks in and realizes she had a nightmare and she just dismisses it, saying, you know, it's fine. It's just a nightmare. But she has tears on her clothes. So, like, whatever happened in the dream happened in real life. And her mom just dismisses it like, girl, you need to cut your nail. That's enough manicures for you. She meets up at school with her friends Nancy, Glenn, and her boyfriend, an absolute tool, whose name of course is Rod. And Rod is like attractive, but he's also like kind of giving off serious boy energy. And you can tell him and Tina don't have the best relationship. There's a lot of trouble in paradise, whereas like Nancy and Glenn are the other couple, and they seem to have more of an understanding with each other, although Glenn's probably getting blue balls from Nancy because he wants like things to go further, but she's just not pushing any further. Like she's set her ground rules and she's sticking to them. Good girl. So Tina is waxing poetic to Nancy all about how she's having these crazy dreams, and Nancy's just like, that's super freaky. Like,
copycat, I'm having the same dreams. Why are you in my dreams?
like, stop copying me.
I had this guy in my dreams too, and he's got like knives for fingers, and it makes these really horrible noises, like.
Which apparently was like the thing she had done in her audition, Heather Langenkamp, that got her the role. They like, oh girl, that's a nice touch. We like that. You got it. But as we're watching this, like we're thinking like, okay, Tina must be the main girl because we're focusing a lot on her. And Heather Langenkamp just seems like a supporting character at this point. Cut to sleepover time. We are at Tina's house. She invited Nancy and Glenn over to keep her company because these dreams are freaking her out and she don't want to be alone in her house when her parents are gone. There is a scratch at the window that sounds suspiciously like the man with the knives for fingers. When Glenn goes to investigate, he is tackled to the ground by Rod, Tina's tool boyfriend, and they break away so that they can go, bump uglies. And like it leads to a little bit of tension between Glenn and Nancy because Glenn wants things to go a little further, but Nancy's just not ready yet. So she dismisses his advances, and he's stuck listening to like Rod and Tina go at it all night long. Like, I don't want to like get into what they're doing because this is a channel where we can't talk about that on YouTube. So let's just say they're doing some really intense hand holding. Like they're playing cards and it's getting really aggressive up there. Meanwhile, Nancy is like fast asleep, just like, and we see a crucifix fall down. And the wall starts to like come alive and you see like a human form coming out of the wall. Ugh, it's so gross. So Tina and Rod finish their throw of passion and are sitting there cuddling and talking to each other, and they're trying to work things out. You can see that like they've reached an understanding with each other and they're gonna try and make things a little better and fight a little less. Both roll over and they fall asleep. Now, Tina awakes and hears things being thrown at her window like pebbles. She gets up to investigate it. So she walks outside and she's looking around and she's trying to see what's going on. She walks out of her backyard and into a back alley, which is like, why would you do that? I would never do that. But she investigates and she sees a man come around the corner and he has got Muppet arms just come down, like long stretched out Muppet arms. It is Freddy Krueger and he's like messing with her. He's like going full extermination challenge. Like pulls out his hands and slices his own fingers off. He's like,
look at that, isn't that cool? I got a magic trick for you.
It's so freaky, and like she is freaked out and runs away and the chase is on. He corners her and basically just starts slashing away at her. A sheet covers them And we cut back to Rod in bed with Tina, and we see her freaking out, and he gets pushed out of the bed in the commotion. He pulls over the covers, and then you see like a slash mark go against her chest, and like blood starts seeping out, and she's being ripped and pulled all along the ceiling. Like all he can do is cower in fear in the corner. Like he doesn't know what's going on. He's in shock. And just when you think he's about to like jump up and help, she just falls from the ceiling into a pool of her own blood on the bed. It's so good. Oh my god, it's freaky. The next morning, the cops and everyone have come to the assumption that Rod is responsible for Tina's death because he fled the scene, so they couldn't question him. But also, there was nobody else there. Nancy decides she's gonna go to school against her mom's wishes. She wants her to stay home and sleep, but she's like, no, I'll sleep in study hall, all right? Like, I am not staying here. As she's walking along, she's pulled from behind into the bushes by Rod. He is like dirty, he's barefoot, he's covered in his own filth, and he's just like, look, I had to run away, I don't know what else to do, but I'm innocent, I swear. And she's just like, I don't know what to believe, but her father comes up behind. Her father's a cop, by the way, played by none other than fine-ass John Saxon. And they arrest Rod, and she is pissed at her dad because her parents are already divorced, so like there's tension there. She's pissed at her dad because he basically used her to make an arrest, and she doesn't fully believe that Rod is responsible for this. Like, she knows like something weird is going on. Like, she's super smart, she can see around corners and stuff. Like, she's got a third eye going on right now. Like, she knows something ain't right here. Something supernatural is afoot. Well, Nancy is like drifting in and out of sleep during study hall, and like it is a boring lesson. It's like read your essay to the class day, and I can understand why she fell asleep. Like, I would have too, girl. Also, didn't know this. The teacher is played by none other than Lynn Shay from Insidious fame. And it's like, come on, journeywoman actress. I didn't realize she was in this movie. And then dumbass me put two and two together. It's like, wait, Lynn Shay is literally Bob Shay, the producer's sister. So it's not that impressive, but it's still like, oh, I didn't expect to see her in this. You know, work, diva. Like a soft work, diva. Nancy is fast asleep in class, and she starts wandering the halls because she hears Tina's voice. And she sees her inside of a body bag, like a clear one, like all bloodied up and just being dragged around. So she's following the trail of blood. She starts running and crashes into this hall monitor girl with a hideous sweater on, like red and green, like Freddy Krueger's. And she's like,
move out of my way, I don't need a hall pass.
And as she's running away from her, she hears the girl call her again. And she looks around and it's like, suddenly, Hall Monitor Girl turns into a voice actor. She has Robert Englund's voice. I'm like, yes! Do Betty Davis next.
Come to Freddy.
She is exploring this dream world and ends up in a boiler room. Like, she probably didn't even know her school had this room in there. He corners her in the boiler room, and she's got nowhere to go. So thinking fast on her feet, because like I said, she could see around corners and stuff. She slams her arm against a hot pipe and wakes herself up. But she takes some damage back with her because her arm is all burned up and she made a scene in class, which is like so embarrassing. I always wonder, like, what are the other students thinking when they see this? Like, I bet you there's some popular girl in class that isn't being stalked by Freddy Krueger that's just looking over like,
there goes Nancy again on her endless quest for attention.
As she sets herself up to fall asleep with Glenn watching guard, she sees that Freddy is in the jail in the dream world, like standing over Rod. Something menacing is about to happen. She manages to wake herself up after a chase scene with him, and basically runs to the police station with Glenn. But like, they go to investigate and they see that Rod hung himself, only he didn't hang himself. Freddy Krueger tied a noose around his neck. Because somehow he can control things in the real world too. Like, it doesn't really get explained too well. Some things are like phenomenon that just happen that he can like pour himself into the real world, but maybe he's just not powerful enough to do more. After the funeral, Nancy's mom takes her to a sleep psychiatrist trying to figure out what exactly is going on with her daughter. They do a study and like, things are going pleasant at first, and then the scales just start going nuts. And he's like, I have never seen a reading like this before. Like, she is freaking out in there. And like, they go and like wake her up, and she's got cuts all over, and she's all terrified. She's got a white flash in her hair now. She looks like Rogue from X-Men. And she managed to pull something out of her dream, which is a dirty old fedora. And her mom does not care for this incel fashion statement and takes it immediately. Nancy just will not let it go. Like, she wants to know what is going on. So she confronts her mom in the kitchen. And her mom, by the way, is like 2 sheets to the wind. She is day drinking the house down. She's like a real housewife, okay? She's got booze hidden everywhere around that house. Like, she is unapologetically drunk. And she's all like, look, baby, Freddy Krueger can't hurt you because, well, long story short,
he was a dirty old pervert that preyed on children. So all of us went and mobbed justice on him and we burned him alive in a boiler room. So, you know, that's it. You don't have to worry. Go to bed. I'm gonna go drink some more.
And Nancy is not happy with this. She's like, well, look, clearly there's like some revenge plot going on from beyond the grave because all my friends are dying and they're all children of the people that did this mob. So like, this is all making a little too much sense and you're not going along with the story with me. Nancy goes out with Glenn and he tells her as they're standing over a bridge, it's really picturesque and really cute. It's like, aw, look at them, they're a cute couple. Glenn tells her that like, he read somewhere that like, some cultures believe with they're being chased by like bad dreams or spirits, that the best thing to do is just turn your back on the demon. She's like, what happens if the demon pushes back? He's just like, well, you turn their back on them and you act like they're nothing. And that's your way of like blocking them from you. Like you basically hit block on Instagram. They can't talk to him anymore. So she has a plan to lure him out. Like she wants to lure Freddy out. She coordinates with Glenn to come over and help her out. But when she gets home, her mom has added bars to the windows and new locks in the doors. And it's a little freaky. It's like, okay, you're taking this I must go to sleep stuff a little too far. Like she's acting like she's a juvenile delinquent. Like she's just not sleeping. Like her mom goes to the literal extreme. And like even the other parents on the block are talking about it. Like Glenn's parents are all like,
Oh girl, that family is freaky.
like we do not want our son around him. So like when she calls to like coordinate her plan with Glenn, she can't get through because the father lies and said that he's asleep and hangs the phone up and unplugs the cord from the wall. She tries to call again and can't get it through until it connects and she hears scratching on the other line of the receiver. She gets so freaked out, she yanks it out of the wall and breaks the cord, throws it on her bed, and when she walks out, she hears the phone ring. And like you look at it, and like it's like seconds that feel like hours as she looks down at the phone and sees it ringing. Like you know something freaky is about to happen. So she unwraps the phone and you just hear Robert Englund like muster out, "I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy." And he starts licking her. Like the phone receiver turns into a mouth with a tongue. It's like she throws it down. It's kind of corny looking at the effect now, but like it's so effective for some reason. I don't know why. So like she knows about to go down and she can't do anything about it. She runs down to the front door and sees that it's locked, and her mom is proud of this. Like she is drunk on that couch, just like, I locked it. You're not getting out. You're gonna go to sleep if it kills me, sis. Like you are not getting out of this house. Like we cut to Glenn, who is asleep in his bed. Like he's falling asleep with the TV on the bed with headphones on, listening to music. Like he is doing 6 different things at once. And we see 2 hands come up from the bed and pull him inside of it. And basically falls into a sinkhole in the bed. And like everything gets sucked in, like his TV, his radio, his speaker, all that's going in there, his blankets, his records. And suddenly blood just shoots up like The Shining, like the elevator doors, and it's like painting the ceiling red. His parents hear the commotion come in and it's like, oh, his mom is freaking out because she knows this is gonna take forever to clean up. And I was like, baby, the father's probably freaking out too. It's like, how are you gonna explain this when you sell the house? I was like, baby, you're just gonna have to bulldoze that whole thing and start from scratch. Nancy manages to get through to her father, who's investigating it now. And they are just like, the coroners are sick in the bathroom throwing up from this. Like, they are disgusted by this whole spontaneous combustion that happened. The father tells her, like, sure, I will be there for you if you call me. She's like, you better be there because I'm gonna call you for help because I'm gonna lure this out and I'm going to get him. Like, she has had it now. Like, all her friends are dead. It is just her. So she's going into vengeance mode and I'm living. Like, she is girl bossing this whole situation down. So Nancy gets all anarchist cookbook with it and starts making booby traps. Like, she makes exploding light bulbs. She makes tripwires. She's got the full Looney Tunes swinging hammer in the doorway. Like, the whole bit. Like, she is gonna get him. Like, she has got a plan and she's about to hatch it. So she sets her alarm and falls back asleep. And she finds herself wandering through the dream world, trying to lure him out. So, like, she's walking through her own house in her own dream world. And then she walks down to the basement and sees a separate door there that wasn't there before. So she opens it and it leads down to another extension of her own home into a boiler room. So she's like, oh yeah, I know where this bastard's gonna be. So she's searching around and she's calling him out. Like, she is not afraid. She is over it at this point. She's just like,
Look, Freddy, where you are, girl. Like, what are you waiting for? I'm right here. What are you gonna do?
and he pops out. Like, he does this a lot where, like, he doesn't really play fair. He'll, like, always pop up to, like, your shoulder right here. He's like, ugh, Jesus. And the chase is on. She finds herself in the rose ladder of her own, outside of her own home. And, like, Freddy has vanished yet again. So she's looking around. She's banging on her own door. Like, she's calling his name just like,
What? Punk ass, where you at?
and he turns around and, like, throws the rose ladder off of himself and just, like, ha! And she's like, oh, no, you don't. She's like, and tackles him. And they are scrapping, okay? It's like a middle school fight. And I'm just sitting there, it's like, ooh, 5 on Nancy. The alarm clock goes off and she pulls him out. And she wakes up in her own bed and she is terrified because, like, she had just gotten into, like, a fight. She basically was brawling with Freddy Krueger. It was like an MMA fight. And she's looking around her room and, like, she's waiting for him and she's like, he's not here. Where did he go? And, like, she sits on the side of her bed and she's just, like, waiting, like, crap, like, it didn't work. I really am crazy. Ooh, like a jack in the box. He pops it from behind her and she catches him in the nick of time and just, like, throws it at him and just, like, throws something at him to knock him over. She runs out of her room and locks it. And this is where her series of booby traps start to go off. Like, she runs down the stairs and starts breaking out her front window, trying to get her father's attention. Cop that's standing guard that was told to, like, look out for her is just like, everything's okay, like, go back to bed. And she's just like, asshole, Hit someone over here right now. I have him trapped in the room. Meanwhile, Freddy breaks out of her room and when he opens the door, he sets off the trap and a sledgehammer just goes and knocks him right in the stomach. Like, it is fierce. Like, the booby traps are set and going off. And Nancy is having a field day right now. Because, like, she knows, like, he's dumb enough to fall for all of it. Like, he gets hit with the sledgehammer and falls off the side of the railing and hits every stair all the way down the stairs to the front door landing where she is. She jumps over him and lures him over into the front room. And when he comes over, he hits the tripwire and an explosion goes off from the light bulb. Like, it is sickening. And he's, like, taken off guard and chases her into the basement where she set up another trap. So she basically pulls the old switcheroo and he runs to the corner of the basement. She has a whole jug full of gasoline that she just tosses at him when he's cornered and then just lights a match and sets him on fire and dips. Like, she goes up those stairs with the quickness and locks him in. But before she does, like, he makes it all the way up the stairs as he's on fire. She does the old, you know, open the door, close the door, where she, like, pushes him and he falls down the stairs and he rolls over, hitting every stair on the way down on fire. So, like, he's already having a bad night. He's, like, doubly pissed because he just cannot seem to kill this girl. Like, it's his 4th time attacking her and he still hasn't killed her. It's like, you think he would give up by now. It's like, after 3, I would be over her. Like, I'm just gonna go on to the next person. Like, this is not worth my time. But he doesn't. Like, he fully tries to run up the stairs again after she's locked him in. And, like, she manages to get her father over when he breaks down the door. This is when we reach the thrilling conclusion of A Nightmare on Elm Street. And it is fierce. So, rather than tell you what happens, I will show you in thrilling animation the conclusion of Nightmare on Elm Street.
Okay, so Freddy's making his way up the stairs. He is still on fire and he is on a mission. Nancy follows him. The stairs are on fire. Ooh. Freddy creeps in after her mom, who is passed out after a night of drinking. Freddy's on top of her mom, attacking her. They're both on fire. Suddenly, they throw the sheet over them and they disappear into the bed. Nancy watches the whole thing and she's just like, I see you, Freddy. I'm over this. I'm gonna need you to give me my mom back. Give me back my friends. I'm done. I take back all the energy I spent on you. You ain't. And she turns her back on him and she walks away. He jumps at her and he disappears. Then we walk out with Nancy and her mom. Her mom's all like, I'm not going to drink anymore. And she's like, that's amazing, Mom. I'm going to go to school. Bye. And she gets in the car. And then suddenly the car takes off and it has Freddy Krueger colors on it. And the mom gets pulled through the window. And then it's over.
Wow! Oh my god, what a great animated sequence. Oh, it was so lifelike. Oh my gosh, I adore Nightmare on Elm Street. Honestly, it is a classic in the horror franchise. Now, this movie made so much money, more than anyone was expecting. One of the stories that really stuck out to me was John Waters had told Bob Shea he went to an early screening of Nightmare on Elm Street when it was released, and he saw like a 10 a.m. show, right? And after he left it, he gave him a call immediately and said, look, you guys got a hit on your hands. And they knew from that point on, like, oh yeah, this is gonna be a monster. And it was. It made so much money and dawned so many sequels of varying integrity. But A Nightmare on Elm Street 1 is by far the best of the canon. Wes Craven broke it off in this one, okay? Like, it is so good. My gosh, I enjoyed rewatching this and retelling it for you all, and I hope you guys did too. If there's any other movie you want to see me talk about, please be sure and let me know, and I'm open to hearing it. Now, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, bye. Now hit the outro.
Click here and watch Iconic Blondes. Or watch my last makeup and movie video. We talked about gremlins. Come on, click it. You know you want to. If you don't click it, I'll break through your window and pull you through like a blow-up doll. So click it.